Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Justin Madison. Stress. Stress can ruin your life and it can make things so hard. But let me tell you, there's a solution. There are ways to get rid of your stress and minimize it. And no, it doesn't have to do with anything illegal. You can do this naturally. Have you ever had moments in your life where maybe you think things are too overwhelming, you don't know what to do, and you think that it's never going to get better, that things are just hard? Well, there's a lot of scientists who have studied stress and anxiety and how things appear to be hopeless. They can fix it, or at least there is a method. So let's go over it. Very first, you have zebras. There's a gentleman named Robert Sapolsky. He was some type of evolutionary biologist, I believe, and he looked into why it is there are certain animals that can be in environments that are very dangerous, like zebras, where they can always be hunted by a lion or hyenas or something like that, but yet they maintain relative calmness, right? I mean, if you lived out in the middle of the plains of Africa and there's literally lions around everywhere that are about to eat you, do you think you would be calm? Do you think that you would be able to keep a level head and all these things? You might not be able to, but somehow other animals can and live relatively successful lives. So what they found, these zebras, they would go about their day and they lived in their herd. They would graze on grass. They'd move around, go get water, etc. And then out of the blue, a lion attacks. Now, zebras are very good at avoiding lions, things like that. And they don't have the best strategy if you're trying to look at it from a human perspective. Really, there's so many zebras in one herd. They just scatter and run. One of them gets eaten, and then the second that that one gets attacked by a lion, the other zebras just go right back to normal. Like what they'll do is they'll run like a couple hundred yards away, and then just keep eating grass. And the lion is over there eating one of their friends or their family members, and they don't even really do anything. They just continue on. And it's puzzling. It's like, how on earth are these zebras doing this? Like, what is going through their heads? And that's just the thing. The answer is there's nothing going through their heads. That's it. The biggest thing is these zebras are sitting there grazing. The lion attacks. Their cortisol, their adrenaline spike, heart rate goes up. They breathe, they take in more oxygen. They run frantically. It's crazy. Look up a video on it. The lion catches one, poor zebra, and then the rest of them, as soon as it's over, within like 30 seconds to a minute, they just go back to baseline. Well, that sounds dumb. That sounds overly simple. You're probably wondering, well, what do you tell me here, Justin? Just be normal, just act normal. No, that's not what I'm telling you. There's a deeper lesson here. And it has to do with, let's go over to Richard Dawkins. He was an evolutionist too, right? I like these evolutionists because they're very good at breaking down how we function mechanically, because they come from the perspective that there is no mysticism behind the way things work. There is no magic involved. It's all very practical, pragmatic reasoning for why we functions the way that we do. And from this perspective, what you can then do is start to reason out and understand why the world is the way that it is. From there, you have more clarity and you can navigate the world better. So, a little bit of looking through the evolutionary lens, if you're like a Christian, don't just, or you're some other religion, don't just write it off. They're just trying to figure out why it is that things are working. They've got very good results. So, anyway, Richard Dawkins, he has a book, and in it, he talks about the core concept of the book is, why are humans so successful? Why are we so good at surviving? Why are we the top of the food chain, let's say? I mean, we hunt every animal on the planet, eat them, and outpopulated them all. We're the winners. Well, we are what he calls simulation machines. We have a very special brain with a frontal lobe and conscious capacity to be able to see and predict the future. Kind of like using your imagination or just playing out all the things that could potentially happen in any given scenario. It's a superpower because it allows us to plan, it allows us to prepare, and then it allows us to, get outcomes. But that's a two-edged sword. Because here's the thing. Our brains, if not guided and disciplined correctly, will not just try to plan and prepare for the future for things that are probable, but things that are unrealistic. And we will start looping. We will begin coming up with scenarios, different things that are catastrophic, that are very negative, that are never going to happen, are unlikely to happen. And we end up almost in our subconscious mind reacting to all those simulations, all those possibilities, imagining the negative things as if they are real. And your body will actually embody that scenario. You can try it. You've probably noticed it before. If you start thinking about, most of the time it's a social event and how you're going to go to a party or whatever, and you're going to think about how you're going to be judged, how people are going to look at you, if they're going to end up thinking, this person is lower status, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe they wore that thing, or they said that thing. You're like, what if I just can't come up with what to say in the moment, or say something funny enough, or I'm rude? You'll notice very quickly, you will start to feel the emotions as if you've already done the bad thing that was at that social event. But nothing really happened. You're making it all up in your head. It's not real. And that's one of the real funny thing about us humans is we make up problems for ourselves that don't exist. And we can do it endlessly. When we do this, we cause ourselves so much stress and anxiety that we really hurt ourselves more than we help ourselves. We have a tool, this simulating tool in our brain, and we're using it for everything when you shouldn't always be doing that. Just because you have a hammer doesn't mean you should go around and whack everything with it. That would cause a lot of problems. So in my studies, I have come over this topic again and again and again. Stress and anxiety comes from overthinking. It is the primary reason. Yes, you could have agitants in your environment. You could ingest a poison. You could be eating foods that aren't good for you. You could be breathing in different things that are toxic. Yes, those things have an effect. But in my opinion, that is not the primary cause of most of our stresses. This all being said, if you want to turn this around and we go to religion, right? Philosophy, all these things, they say over and over again, I don't care what book or set of books that are in that field, they all say the same thing. Do not stress. Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. God says in, the Gospels, the New Testament, don't worry. I care about the sparrow greatly. And how much more do I care about you? Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. God will provide his daily bread to you, like the Israelites receiving manna from heaven. Now, some people, like archetype type people, they relate this kind of like Jung, is that God is really the subconscious or something like that. And that your subconscious is always doing all this work for you and helping you towards your goals that you have internalized and accepted to being worthwhile and that you think that you are worthy of. This leads us in this whole stress dynamic, right? To then talking about success barriers or self-sabotaging, right? There's this idea, if you get into kind of like self-help circles, Tony Robbins, all these other guys, they talk about success barriers where you may have something you want to do, you know how to do it, you know the steps how to do it, but yet you don't do it. Why? We all have the room that we know that needs cleaned. You don't clean it. You could say there's some argument of like you just don't have the time or something like that. But you probably also know that there's that time you waste playing on your phone and you could have been cleaning that room instead when you know it would have been better for you. Yet you don't do it, right? And there's many reasons for that, but I'm going to take one approach at it, and it's this whole success barrier approach, right? Now let's take this back to a more realistic perspective, okay? And this is all related to stress. We as humans, many thousands of years ago, lived in groups with a pecking order. Now I have chickens, and I've observed this very closely. There are chickens in your flock that are the top chicken, and then you have like the bottom chicken. Let's say the alpha chicken and the beta chicken. Whenever there is food given to chickens, or like a worm pops up out of the ground, the chickens all rush to go get it, right? But typically, the biggest chicken will go run over and bully its way into getting the food by pecking the other chickens. And you would think, well, simple, just the other chicken just needs to turn around and peck the other one back and fight. Well, they do. And then what happens is that the bigger chicken typically usually wins and ends up asserting dominance on the other chickens by beating it into the point it submits and or risk being killed by the other chicken. So these chickens all throughout the day, whenever any like resource comes up, the top chicken will peck the other chicken into constantly reminding it that it is not the top chicken. And it's not just that there's the top chicken, the bottom chicken. They organize themselves and they all peck the bottom chicken, you know, into submitting to allowing the other ones to have the most food or whatever resource or mating rights, etc. I bring this up in chickens because it's very easy and quick to understand. We humans do the same thing. Now that sounds extremely harsh and it sounds not very correct. A lot of people might want to argue with that very quickly. But you have to realize we did not always live in civil societies. We did not always live in farm cultures, etc., right? Think back more to like hunter gatherers. Yeah, people who were running around throwing spears and rocks at animals to eat and all this stuff. There was always a chief. There was always the Indian that didn't have feathers or whatever. Could be anywhere in the world. The chief was the one who led everybody and ended up getting all of the resource rights first. He'd get the most food, he'd get the most women, he'd get the most leisure time, all of these things, right? And then there was those at the bottom, and this goes for both men and women, who just got the least amount. Now, they all took care of each other because they all needed each other, and they all ended up getting something for being a part of the group, but they definitely had disproportionate results. Now, I'm trying to lay the groundwork for success barriers and anxiety. When you, in that tribe, attempted to assert yourself in a higher position, you would typically get pecked. Now, with humans, they may not have beaks they peck you with, but they might hit you with a club or something like that, right? And whenever you try to step up, the chief or whoever was above you would put you back in your place. No, you can't have the extra meat from the buffalo we just killed. No, you can't mate with this other person that's my mate. Or maybe, the chief would have multiple mates or whatever. And then the people at the bottom, oftentimes, if they tried to overstep and assert themselves, honestly, they'd probably get weeded out of that tribe, and because they were too much of a threat. Only if they could overpower the person above them would they then be allowed to have the more success. So we have this very deeply ingrained wiring in our consciousness of status. Status, 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 status. That is a very key word. We as humans do not want to succeed if we risk upsetting the hierarchy and risk everyone above us coming down on us and putting us back in our place, right? So that's why we have this. I use the example of cleaning the room, right? And if you notice, very poor people in poor people houses have very messy houses, and very uh, highly successful people typically have very clean houses. It's a outward expression of their success. That's just a little personal take I have on it. But to push this out further, let's say that you're somebody who wants to make more money, right? And you're very stressed about not having the money, all these things. A lot of times, making the money is not that complicated. You know what to do. But you run the risk of when you go out and you try to make it, you have very subconscious, low level anxiety around what will all my friends and family think? Will they accept me? Will they say, you're somebody who thinks. I have a friend from Boston, and they had this funny thing they'd always say when the boss people get around, whenever you try to do something, they'd always say something like, so what? Do you think you're better than me? Huh? Do you think you're better than us? And it was like they would put you back down if you tried to like dress differently, or if you would try to, like do something that was outside of that culture in that area. Like, I don't know, maybe everyone played basketball and one day someone decided, I want to try and play golf. It was not an alignment with their group. They would think you're breaking away. And, that's just a funny one. But what I'm trying to get at here is your stress throughout the day a lot of times is self imposed, because you think subconsciously someone is going to come out and get you if you try to succeed. And then that keeps you in the position that you're in, and that causes you undue suffering. We don't live in those environments anymore. If you have to worry about, these success barriers, about being put in your place or something like that, honestly, it's only going to happen once you get to the highest levels in society now. There is a point when you will get so high that the top level people start noticing you. And if you're at a point where you might start upsetting the apple cart, that they may come in and try to sabotage you, right? There's a lot of examples of this in recent media, where with the rise of the internet and YouTube, or whatever, social media, there are people who started to get massive followings, and all of a sudden their bank accounts would get taken away and they would end up getting deplatformed on a lot of things. I'm not saying that it couldn't have something to do with some of the things they were saying, but you cannot ignore the fact they were starting to get massive traction online, and they were starting to have a lot of success. Like, their version of success wasn't in alignment with who was in charge. So, something to just think about. But the point is, yet again, what's the solution to these things? I've laid out all the groundwork for the problem. You must realize you cannot overthink all the time. You can't always be in a state of wondering and questioning what other people think, and thinking about necessarily all of the possible problems that could happen. You have to really rationalize down. Okay, I want to make more money. I'm going to, let's say, go start another business or whatever. The first things that might seem rational is you start thinking something like, well, what if I don't succeed and I can't get customers to pay me and I end up going bankrupt and then my family disowns me? And then it's like this cascading runaway fear scenario, right? Look, you have to put it in perspective. You know many people, or have known many businesses that exist. Yes, some of them fail, but is it that crazy of a thing to imagine that many businesses do succeed, right? I mean, every business you've ever seen is someone who took a risk and they succeeded. Is it impossible? No. I mean, just because you're going to end up doing is are the police going to come and arrest you, or are you going to do anything illegal? If you're not going to do anything, what do you have to worry about? And this is what's more important. We live in a time in society right now where we're in the safest environment we have ever been in history. Worst case scenario in the West, right? You lose your job, you go bankrupt, you lose your house, your whatever. You're not going to starve to death. You're not going to get kicked out and never have friends ever again. There's 330 million people. There's plenty of people to have friends with. I'm not saying go out and be mean to people or act like a jerk. What I'm saying is like maybe, if people reject you for those things, there's other people who won't. And not only that, we have a safety net. We have all of this welfare that you can go get food stamps and get, I mean, government housing. There's charities everywhere. We're not living on the plains of Africa anymore. Your risks are so low. And trust me, if you're making a couple $1,000,000 seems like a big deal, it is not. Whatever it is you're trying to succeed at, there's so many people out there who have that. And that's not, if you start getting into the billions of dollars, then you might start having some people who try to put you in your place. But don't worry about that. You're probably not going to do that. That's not like, a likely thing to happen. But other than that, you can have a lot of success for you and your family and all these things. So what I'm trying to showcase here is you need to be in the practice of non-thinking all the time. You need to plan, you need to sit down and write, and you need to have dedicated time. But outside of that, don't let your mind run wild. And don't always assume that someone's going to come and sabotage you. It's very unlikely. You can cut people off now. We're not in a tribe where you have to be around only these 50 or 100 people. If you start having people in your life that do start to try and sabotage you or put you in a place or something like that, cut them out. You have more opportunity for more friends and peer groups than ever, and you can find the people who will encourage you to succeed and want to bring you up. There are groups of people, once they say it's, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. Get into the groups of people who encourage you, not discourage you. So, stress. I'm not saying those are the only keys to overcoming stress and anxiety and all these things. I'm not a doctor, I'm not somebody who has any medical advice to give you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just giving you my perspective. These are what work for me. And these are the things that I find succeed. So that's it for today. I hope this is a very helpful, tangible thing for you. So today, 5 o'clock Central Time, we're going to do reality mapping again, part 7, and we're going to talk about a couple things. That's a live stream. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day, everyone. All right.